You ever get the sense that the universe just can't wait to mess with you? Like you step outside, take a breath, and every molecule in the air is whispering, "Hey, buckle up, buddy, it's about to get stupid." That was my morning. Just me, a pair of work gloves, and my old wooden gate, until 3 squad cars barreled down my dusty road, lights spinning like they'd found a real criminal out here. Behind him, Karen, pastel pink blazer, hair shellacked to perfection. That HOA clipboard clutched like it was an Olympic torch. She didn't even let the tires stop before she's yelling, "That gate is illegal. Take it down." Now, imagine you've worked a double shift, your coffee's still halfway in your veins, and a woman in a pantsuit is barking orders at actual cops to arrest him. I just wiped my brow, blinked twice, and thought, all right, universe, you win. Let's see how bad this gets. The officers step out, and you can tell by the way they're looking around, they'd rather be anywhere else. Meanwhile, Karen, she's pointing straight at me. Him, now. So slow as can be, I reach into my back pocket, pull out my gold badge, and, real calm, say, "Ma'am, you just called the sheriff on the sheriff." If you've ever seen a cartoon where someone's face melts off, you'll know the look she gave me. But hey, before we get to the end of this circus, let me back you up, because this didn't just happen out of nowhere. I've lived on this land, same patch of sunburned earth, over 20 years. Dad built the house with his own hands back when disco was king and nobody locked their doors at night. That old oak by the porch, it's seen more drama than daytime TV. Our road used to be just a rut in the dirt, a Whitaker road for 3 generations. My granddad always said, "Long as that gate swings, this family stands." And he meant it. Life used to be simple here. Roosters would crow, you'd sip coffee on the porch, count the clouds, feed the horses, mend a fence or two, then put on the badge and head into town for my shift. The only problems I had were raccoons in the feed and maybe a stubborn tire on the old pickup. Nobody cared much about boundaries until, well, the developers came. Maple Ridge Estates. Sounds fancy, right? What it really meant was a plague of beige houses, all jammed, so tight you could hear your neighbor sneeze through the walls. With those houses came the real disease, an HOA run by the kind of people who see a wildflower and call a violation. I tried being neighborly, showed up to their welcome barbecue, bought a slice of Karen's lemon meringue pie, looked her dead in the eye, took a bite, and lied that it was delicious. She was the new president, middle-aged, sharp cheekbones, sharper opinions, the type who thinks a clipboard makes her a general. Within weeks, she'd fined 2 families for unsightly trash cans, told another to repaint their mailbox because sun-bleached blue isn't harmonious. Sarah, my wife, laughed about it with me that night. "Long as she stays on her side of the fence, we'll be fine," I said. I should have known better. Then one morning, I'm out there patching up a post after a storm when Karen shows up, slow rolling her silver SUV down the road like she's inspecting troops. She doesn't say hi. She just gives me that pinched look and starts right in, "Mr. Whitaker, we've had several complaints about your gate." My gate. It's on HOA land. You'll need to move it 20 feet to comply with access standards. I couldn't help it. I laughed. "This gate's been here since before you were born. This is private property." She bristles, quoting bylaws, waving that folder like it's the U.S. Constitution. "You can quote bylaws all you want," I told her. "County records beat HOA rules every day." She did not appreciate that answer. "If you refuse, we'll escalate." I shrugged. "Then escalate." She drove off, and I could tell right then. That was just the first shot fired. Weird stuff started happening. Letters in my mailbox, official fines for gate obstruction, violation notices taped to my fence, strangers in orange vests measuring the distance from my gate to the road, snapping pictures like they're building a case file. I walk up, ask what they're doing. "Safety inspection," they say. "For what road?" "Maple Ridge Estates." I point at the marker not 10 feet away. "That's the county line. This side? Mine. Y'all are trespassing." You should have seen their faces. Didn't matter to Karen. She rolled up again, smug as ever. "You can't threaten county workers." "They're not county," I said. "I know. I signed their paychecks." She almost stuttered, but then got that look like she smelled something bad. "We'll settle this with law enforcement." I folded my arms. Good idea. Didn't tell her law enforcement here was me. The next week, HOA folks drove by, phones out, filming the gate. Sarah said, "They're trying to bait you." I wasn't worried. Let them dig their own hole. But Karen was relentless. Group emails, Facebook posts, newsletters calling me a non-compliant neighbor endangering public access. Friends in town called to laugh and ask what I'd done. The answer? Nothing. Just happened to own land Karen couldn't control, and that ate at her. She tried again, marching up with her assistant, skinny guy, new clipboard. "We've reviewed the plats. The gate violates HOA access." I just looked at her. "County records disagree, and you're standing on private property." She hissed, "Private? We'll see." Told her assistant, "Take a photo." I leaned in. "Touch that gate, and you'll be explaining yourself to the sheriff's department." She scoffed, "Like you know any sheriff." I smiled. "Closer than you think." But folks like her, they don't quit when they're losing. She called meetings, plotted in her driveway, waved folders at her board. Sarah asked if I'd just tell her who I was. "Not yet," I said. "Let her keep climbing that ladder." At night, I'd sit on my porch, watching the road. Quiet, but I knew it wouldn't stay that way. Not with Karen gunning for a fight. Then, right on schedule, the blue lights came, 3 police cruisers roaring up my dirt road. Karen, out front, barking orders. That's the obstruction. The officers, looking at each other, probably wondering who'd stuck them with this mess. I set down my coffee, walked up, and handed over my badge. "Sheriff Whitaker." Karen's jaw hit the gravel. "You the sheriff?" "Yes, ma'am." "You called the law on the law." You could have heard a pin drop. Karen went from beet red to bone white in 2 seconds. The officers tried not to smirk. Sarah watched from the porch, grinning into her mug. I asked the officers if there was an actual complaint or if they were just following up on an overzealous report. Karen sputtered, reaching for some kind of authority, but it was gone. I tucked my badge away, leaned in. "Let's talk about these inspections you've been running." Silence. She couldn't even look me in the eye. "Now, let me ask you, have you ever seen someone realize in real time that they've built their whole crusade on a lie? That moment? That's better than coffee." She tried to explain herself, blustering about bylaws and the greater good, but I pointed to the sign at the start of the road. Whitaker Ranch, private property, East 1971. Sergeant Gomez pulled up the parcel map on his tablet. "HOA boundary ends 40 yards before the gate, ma'am. This is private land." Karen blinked like the world had tilted. Neighbors started coming out, standing by their mailboxes, pretending to check the mail, but everyone was watching. I turned to her and said, "You might want to be careful, Karen. Filing false police reports can get you in trouble, especially when you file them against the sheriff." She didn't answer, just spun around and stomped back to her SUV. But people like her, they never go down easy. She started spinning news stories, flyers slipped under doors, posts online claiming I was under investigation. She filmed me locking my gate, posted the video calling it abuse of power. My deputies got prank calls, concerned citizens asking about the sheriff's land. Sarah worried, but I told her, let her talk. Truth's like gravity. It doesn't care who believes in it. But Karen didn't just talk. One night, my camera caught her creeping along the fence with a flashlight and her trusty vice president, Dennis, I think. They tried to unscrew the gate. You can't make this stuff up. So I called it in. Got 2 trespassers in progress at Whitaker Ranch. When the patrol cars pulled up, lights sweeping across the field, Karen tried to play it off, said she was inspecting the gate for safety. At midnight, with a power drill, the officers cuffed her and Dennis right there. Neighbors filmed the whole thing. Karen, the queen of Maple Ridge, frog-marched into the squad car in handcuffs. I almost felt bad, almost. But that's how justice works. It doesn't need to shout. It just waits for you to trip over your own feet. In the end, she was charged with trespassing and filing a false report. Didn't see jail, but her reign as HOA president? Over. She resigned. The board replaced her with someone who cared more about community than control. The fines, the threats, the endless patrols stopped. For the first time in months, Maple Ridge felt like home. She even had to repaint my fence as part of her community service. Showed up one morning, paint bucket in hand, didn't meet my eyes. For what it's worth, Sheriff, I was wrong. I smiled. You were wrong about a lot of folks, Karen. Maybe next time, just try being a neighbor. She nodded, kept painting. And that's the real lesson, isn't it? It's not about who has the loudest voice or the thickest rulebook. It's about respecting lines, fences, and otherwise. Authority doesn't mean control. Power without fairness is just noise. I didn't win because of badge. I won because I had the patience to let the truth outlast the nonsense. So what do you think? Is it ever okay for a little authority to cross the line for the greater good? Or does justice always need to play by the rules, no matter how slow that feels? If you've ever had your own run-in with an overzealous HOA or someone who just couldn't leave well enough alone, I want to hear about it. Drop your story below. Let's see whose Karen was crazier. And if this story hit close to home, or even just gave you a laugh, let me know. Sometimes, the best fences are the ones built from a good old-fashioned tale of karma.
Cảm ơn tất cả các bạn đã xem video.